Hey everyone, believe it or not, it is May and welcome to the Radical Care for Christian Counselors podcast. And by now, if you've been here for any length of time, you know that we start really to either do a month or at least a couple episodes around the same theme. And the reason I do that is A, to keep my own sanity because it's like crazy, but B, I'm also asking, like, as the months are nearing, as the months are ending, okay, God, what am I noticing amongst clients, amongst groups, amongst my own conversations? Something that we can address on the podcast. And you all know any questions you ask, I try to work into a series as well. So, between a question that was asked and some conversations that we've had, I know the month of May sometimes has necessary and also unnecessary endings, right? But a lot of their necessary endings, it's kids graduating from high school or college, or even middle school or elementary school. It's teachers transitioning to the summer. Sometimes this is family dynamics that are changing. Other times, this is some groups that are ending, whether it's a course or whether it's a group that was meeting during the school year. Sometimes it's even clients that are taking a break for the summer. Whatever it is, we all have endings. So, regardless if you're coming in this from a group facilitator standpoint, or a parent standpoint, or a counselor standpoint, and a one on one relationship, everything that we're going to be talking about this next month that talks about endings and how to not end with a bang. This whole series is going to be about endings. How do we do that well? How do we show up well, whether it's one on one relationships with our clients or with one another, and also in the group dynamics? So, you could be able to apply this if you're a family, if you're a parent, if you're a coach, if you're a counselor, if you're a pastor, if you have any kind of relationships that begin, most likely there will be some kind of transition or some kind of ending at some point. So this is basically the series in a nutshell: how to end well and get ready for summer. And so you could tell if you're watching on video on YouTube, if you really want to watch on YouTube, no, it's fun to watch on YouTube. You'll see I got a background. This is the beach, not where I live. It was an amazing picture that was my screensaver for a while, and I thought how appropriate for this series as we're talking about ending and going into summer. And so, for the first point that we're going to be covered today about how to end not with a bang, how not to end with a bang, is going to be setting up expectations right from the beginning. I know I mentioned this in one of the other things that we were talking about. If you got the 7 step series, we talked about setting up expectations, setting up goals from the beginning, whether it's a dating relationship, whether it's a coaching relationship, whether it's counseling, whether it's a group that you're starting, you need to start expectations out well. For instance, if it's a group that I'm just experimenting with, I've done this and I've given myself freedom to do this because I've always wanted everything planned out. And one thing that I've had a really amazing mentor and then also friends encourage me to do, like, Bethany, just trust God on this and walk out in faith. And so sometimes when I'm starting a group, I'm going, hey guys, this is brand new. I don't really know how this is going to go, but here's what I say: this is supposed to be a 16-week group. Let's check in every 4 weeks and let's see how this is going. And if we need to adapt, awesome. If we need to cut it short, okay. If we want to go longer than the 16 weeks, that's great. I think so many times in our groups, in our relationships, we always set these, like, unnecessary or even unintentional expectations that we don't communicate with the other person, whether it's a counselee that we're working with, whether it's one person that we're working with in a coaching relationship, or whether it's with a group. So, really easy way to apply this. Ready? If you are, we're going to go on the one on one setting, whether it's a relationship, whether it's coaching, whether it's counseling, yeah, one other person that you're in a relationship with. I know I understand the new term. Evidently, it's called DTR. Maybe it's old now. I don't know. But I had a college friend talk to me about this the other day, and y'all, I know I look young, but I'm not in college anymore. Okay, so this college friend was telling me, "Hey, DTR means define the relationship." And when they're dating or they're courting or whatever you may have this, whatever you want to call that, going steady. I've heard like so many like, so whatever that looks like, they have this moment where it's, hey, we need to define the relationship. Is this going to be something? Is this going to go to marriage? Is this going to be serious, or are we just friends just hanging out? What is this? Define what this is. So, in a counseling or coaching standpoint, this can go either way. When you're sitting across from a client, you should have some kind of agreement. You should have, whether it's verbal, because some coaches do verbal. Counselors, you have to have a signed agreement. There's no ifs and buts about that. But it's very clear of this is the role of the client. This is the role of the counselor or coach. You need to have that spelled out somewhere. A lot of coaches have this in their agreement online, the preface before a course, but the preface before a group. These are the expectations set out. And some of the expectations are in time. This is how much time I'm expecting you to put into the group, to put into the relationship that's between us right now. So I'm expecting you to show up and do homework. I'm expecting you to have this done by the time that we show up every week. Maybe it's every other week. There's so many different things that you can do during this phase to make sure that the expectations are laid out. And here's the key point, regardless if you're doing this in one on one or with a group setting, it needs to be both ways. Now, I know there's some set expectations that as a coach, as a leader, as a counselor that we have to put out there. I'm not disagreeing with that. But what I am disagreeing with is the fact that one person should be able to define all of it. That's not fair. If you're in a relationship with someone, there is a give and take. Even if you're leading, there's a give and take. If you're facilitating, there's a give and take. So anytime we put something out there, anytime we throw something out there to the client, to the other person, we want to get feedback from them as well. We want to see how this is resonating with them as well. So the first client session with the counselor, client session with the coach, normally those are just setting the boundaries. These are the foundation, rather. This is what this is all about. If you're not having that conversation with a one-on-one client, I would ask you, why not? It should be spelled out somewhere because it sets the expectation. And second thing for that one-on-one is, okay, when are we going to reevaluate? When are we going to reevaluate? How do we know that this is the marks that we're going for? Usually in that first session, whether it's counseling or coaching, or even in a relationship, we've got some ideas of, okay, this is where I want to go. Even in a dating relationship, I know some people that are just like, hey, I know what I want. This is where I'm going to go. And there's no ifs and buts about it. Like, they're very clear from the get go. I am dating for marriage. I am dating just for friendship. I am dating for whatever that is. And so the same thing with the client, same thing with, regardless of what that looks like. What is this going to end with? And after I reach that point, whether it's 2 months, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a couple weeks, there's benchmarks, there's smart goals. So you can Google that, by the way. Smart goals that you're trying to reach, regardless if it's counseling or coaching or even in a relationship. There should be something that you guys are walking towards. And as a Christian, as a Jesus follower, we want to invite Jesus into that as well. A lot of times with my clients is I love to sit and be silent and just listen and say, hey, how do we want to mark if this relationship, this coaching relationship, if this coaching group is working? Let's spend some time in silence and let's come back and share what we believe that we heard. Other times we'll meet and we'll put that as homework. Like, hey, listen to Jesus during this week and come back and share what you heard. It involves both people, but it's also involving Jesus into all of this. This is what this should be about, right? So again, you're setting realistic boundaries. The only main difference is when you include a group in this. Usually, like we talked about before, the coach has guidelines. The facilitator has guidelines that they bring into the group. They make sure, and I've seen this done in so many different situations, and it's fine. It's when they open up, okay, guys, let's set the grounding. How do we want this group to run? What expectations are you bringing into the group? They set like guidelines together. They work together. They give the group work, which is great. I would encourage whoever that facilitator is, whoever that leader is, to really spend time on identifying definitions. For instance, one of the things that I have in my group, one of the expectations that I have in pretty much every group that I facilitate, that I lead, this includes many church groups that I'm leading, is you do not fix. You are not responsible for fixing anybody in this group. I'm not responsible for fixing anybody in this group. You're not responsible for fixing anybody in this group. And a lot of people struggle with, well, what does fixing look like? You know what fixing can look like? Going up to somebody if they're struggling and say, hey, let me pray for you right now, instead of letting them just stay in the moment and communicate to you what they need. That's a whole new ask. A lot of people have no idea what that's about or how to do that. So a lot of times it's not just defining. Sometimes it's even, hey, this is an expectation I'm bringing to the group. This is going to be new. We're going to fall over our face. So, you know, if we see or if we notice or if we think that somebody's trying to do something that's fixing, let's do a code word. Let's call it pineapple or whoop whoop or whatever. And that doesn't put any condemnation on anybody in the group. We all know that we're learning. And let's just evaluate, okay, what did we see happen here? What did we not see happen here? What emotions is happening in the group right now? A lot of times what I see in these moments is when everybody's putting their ideas into the group, nobody stops and asks the curious questions. Well, what do you mean by that? What does that look like? What does that sound like to you? Because if we don't do that, we're still bringing in a lot of different ideas into the group and we're still not on the same page. So that is the only main difference that I agree that happens a lot easier sometimes on the one-on-one, because it's spelled out and it's just easier to ask somebody if it's one-on-one, like, hey, I want to know what I'm signing up for. It's a lot harder in a small group setting. And so it really takes that facilitator, that curiosity, that leader to really draw that out of the group to make sure that everybody is being seen, everybody is being heard, and everybody understands. Like, we're just trying this. We're not sure what's going to go on. And that way that those expectations are laid out there from the beginning. The way this helps from an ending is, one, you know that those expectations are out there. So if it's a set begin and a set end, nobody's completely caught off guard. Nobody's caught off guard because you covered that right from the get go. They know what they're signing up for. Another thing is it includes everybody in the process. It's not just about the coach. It's not just about the counselor. It's not just about the facilitator. It is about the relationship that's happening here. So we're working towards a goal together. We're working towards a time frame together. That is a huge, huge distinction between coaching, facilitating, counseling. It's a relationship based approach. Whereas if you're taking a course, you are looking at that other person. It's not really about a relationship. You sign up for the course and you take it. That's it. There's no back and forth. Well, I don't really want to do that assignment. So how about we just do this? Or, there's not that. It's different. And so let's use the relationship that we have. Let's start it well and continue it during the process. So that way, when endings do come, you have that relationship, you have that mutual understanding because you've been building it the entire time. It doesn't come as a complete shock to people. And you're always doing these continual check ins along the way. So, regardless of what group you have, regardless of what relationship you have, if it's one on one or with a group, you should have these periodic check ins to see how things are going. And be prepared if they're not going well. Be prepared to have that hard conversation. Be prepared to stay in the room with the other person or with that group. Because a lot of times, even though it might be leading towards an ending, that's the part of ending well. It's out of that relationship that you formed from the very beginning by making sure that everybody knows what to expect. I hope this helped. I hope this helped get you on a good realm as far as here we are. We're going into summer. I don't know what kind of relationships you're bringing into this conversation, whether it's a relationship with your kids, whether it's a relationship with a client, whether it's a relationship with a group. Maybe you're thinking of something in your life that didn't end well. And you're going, okay, I don't want to do that again, but I don't know what I did. This is a great application process this week to sit back and go, okay, I want you to choose an ending that happened in your life that you did have some control over. So it's a relationship based ending. It wasn't somebody that may have passed away, that you had no control over that. You didn't have any control over that. I'm talking about a group that maybe friends disappeared, or maybe it's a group that you were facilitating or even a part of, and you're like, what happened? Like, we just kind of stopped meeting. Maybe it's a friendship that you just stopped connecting, or maybe it was a blow up of some sort. So I really do want us to work and reflect on this as we're moving through this series, because as we're talking about ending, it's going to bring some stuff up for us. But I want you to sit in that unsettledness for a while. Again, we're not condemning, but we do want to learn from what God did in those situations, how God showed up in those situations, what he taught us about ourselves, what he taught us about other people. One of the most amazing parts of the groups that I get to facilitate is when rupture happens. And we don't want it, but it's also guaranteed. If you're really going to get close in a group, you're going to have some rupture. You're going to have disagreement. You're going to have those moments of tension. It's how you move through those moments well that defines if it's ending like a bang or if you're ending well with other people. And that's what we want to do. We want to walk you through how to end well. With that being said, this moment is coming to an end. I can't wait to see you guys next week. And as always, dare to do more than just survive, step out and thrive. See you guys later. Bye.